How you doing, guys, and welcome to another video. And I hope things are a lot better now in terms of my view and my audio, because I spent a good few hours learning about how to get better audio for YouTube and for my production. So I hope this audio sounds a lot better. I've still got a way to go, but I hope it does sound a lot better. So with that said, let's get into the 5 reasons why the EOS M and Magic Lantern is not for you. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to say about using an EOS M is that it's a fantastic device, and you know, there's a lot that can be done with it, but it's not easy. Now, what I mean by that is there's a learning curve with Magic Lantern. There's things you have to learn about crop modes and so much you have to learn, right? But this is the same as any camera. Using any camera, there's a learning curve, but with Magic Lantern on the EOS M, it's kind of straightforward, and there's a lot of teachers out there that will teach you about the learning curve and what you have to look out for and the pitfalls. But if you're one of those guys that just want to jump straight in and you want to start recording like you've just bought a £2,000 Sony, then I'm sorry, then this might not be for you. You need to learn, you need to have patience, and you need to learn. Once you've learned everything about Magic Lantern and its quirks, you'll have so few issues. You'll be shooting great footage, and footage that you can actually use in professional productions. The second reason I wouldn't recommend Magic Lantern is if you have a large disposable income. Now, if you've got maybe like £2,000, £3,000 to spend on the camera, then obviously I'm not going to recommend Magic Lantern, because you can just go out and buy yourself, you know, an A7S III or, you know, a Black Magic or something like that. But if you're coming from a place where I was at first, where it's not that you didn't have disposable income, it's that you just got started and you don't know if you want to spend all of this money on camera gear and that kind of stuff, but you kind of want the best footage you can get to work with. Now, this is where Magic Lantern shines on the EOS M, because you can record H.264 and you can record 14-bit RAW. From there, you can judge for yourself which one is better, which is the better way to go. If you want to grade the 14-bit RAW and then compare it to grading 8-bit, which grading 8-bit, you can't really do that anyway, but you can tweak it to a certain extent, but then it gives you the opportunity to shoot both on one camera, which will cost you about £100. How great is that to have all of those options? Number 3, you're not a problem solver. Now, as I said, you know, it's not easy working with Magic Lantern straight away. When you first download it and you look at it, you're going to be kind of overwhelmed. Like when I first got it and I looked at it, I thought, my God, what is all this? And especially coming from a guy that's never picked up a camera before, and I didn't understand any of the you know, the terms and, you know, the settings and that kind of stuff. But working my way through it, you know, things got a lot better. At that time, Zeke was just getting started, and you know, he was a massive help back in the day. They done a lot of help in terms of bringing Magic Lantern to the forefront and showing people what's capable, what's possible. And from there, I just kind of took it in my own direction and started using it differently. But I had to overcome a lot of hurdles. You know, what is the best mode for me? What is usable for me? Where can I use it and where can I use it? So you have to be a problem solver when you're using something like Magic Lantern. But I tell you something for free, becoming a filmmaker or a content creator is about problem solving in general. Okay, so reason number 4, you don't understand the basics of cinematography. Now, cinematography, you will never understand everything. There's always going to be a learning curve you have to, you know, you're going to have to get around. But when I say the basics of cinematography, I'm talking the most key component, which is light. It's not your lens, it's not your camera, it's not what shutter speed you can shoot at, or, you know, what gimbal you have, it's light. Now, I know a lot of people complain about the EOS M that it's not good in low light, but to be honest, there's not many cameras that are. There's not many cameras that are. Unless you're spending money on something that's got dual ISO, you know, full frame, etc., etc., there's going to be a lot of things you have to overcome. So don't complain about the light. Just add more light. When I do my productions on the EOS M, and you know, if there's not enough light around, I will actually move location to somewhere where there is more light. Yes, there might be something in that shot that you might have wanted, but this is it. You have to overcome the problems. Just add more light. Go and shoot in places where there's more light. And this is the reason why you see a lot of people on the EOS M community shooting always in daytime, is because it just looks better. Any camera will look better. You shoot an ARRI in the nighttime or shoot it in the daytime. In the daytime, golden hour, all that kind of stuff, it's gonna blow that nighttime footage away, unless you specifically chosen a scene for the light and everything else that it has in that particular scene. The daytime footage is always going to look better because light. Reason number 5 is that you want the perfect camera and you want perfection. Well, I'm going to tell you now that that doesn't exist. There's no perfect camera. There's nothing that will do everything that you want. Yes, I think that's, you know, Sony's come close. I know I'm recommending Sony a lot in this video, but really Sony have done a lot in terms of, you know, in terms of image quality, low light performance, IBIS, all that kind of stuff. So they're a great all-rounder, but they're quite expensive. But there is no perfect camera, because even with a Sony, unless you buy an add-on, a different monitor, you aren't gonna be able to shoot RAW, and definitely not 14-bit RAW. So there's no perfect camera. So what you do is you just have to learn the camera that you have and learn to live with its shortcomings, because every camera has shortcomings. So learn to pick your battles with the EOS M and you will get fantastic footage. Now, I know a lot of people say that you can't do professional productions with EOS M or Magic Lantern in general, and they are right, because even when I was shooting that Pappy Bones video with my friend Kana, I did have a few problems. You know, a couple of times the camera stopped recording. It was hard to get focus on that screen. I did want to use a monitor, but to be honest, I couldn't really risk it too much because he paid for the studio and I didn't want to waste any money and stuff like that. So there was money involved. So, you know, I had to, you know, run with what I had. So it did an okay job, but I missed focus a couple times. But missing focus is not the end of the world. It just depends on how it looks. But you know, you have to pick your battles, and you can do professional productions with it. A friend of mine called Ape, he's a DP and does some amazing films and got quite a few films on Netflix. And it's funny that one of his older films when he first started was actually shot all on Magic Lantern, which is crazy. There's a film on Netflix that's shot on Magic Lantern. Now I'll put the name of the film up and I'll show you you know, a bit of it. But what I'm saying is, when he was starting out, he didn't let that stop him. He overcame the limitations of Magic Lantern. He did what he had to do, and now he's got his movie, which he shot on Magic Lantern on Netflix. The kind of I wouldn't say the gold standard, but it's kind of what every filmmaker wants now, is a film on Netflix, and he did it. And obviously now, looking, you know, into the future, his work is absolutely outstanding. But he didn't let that stop him when he started, you know, to create this movie on Magic Lantern and put it out there. I'll be honest with you, your first, second, third movie is probably not gonna be as great as you want it, but you know, just go out and shoot it and learn to live with your camera's limitations. So I've got an important piece coming out, and this is for Show Studio. And Show Studio is a company that does a lot of work with people like the Queen, Billie Eilish, or Eilish, or however you say it, Kanye West, all that kind of stuff. And we got commissioned to do this this piece, and it will be coming out on Show Studio in April. And I actually used Magic Lantern on this piece, because there was a piece where I've got the camera close up to his face. I've already spoken about that in my videos before. And the reason why I use Magic Lantern on that piece is because the camera's light. It gives me the background separation which I wanted for this particular look, and I think it just looks great. But the thing is, I know when to pick my battles with Magic Lantern. I wouldn't shoot everything with it, but I know when to pick my battles, and that's what you have to do too. So that brings me on to the community, the Facebook community. Fantastic group of guys that will help you get over many problems and will help you, you know, to get your camera up and running and shooting very quickly. I just think that, and I hope this doesn't trigger some people, but the community has become, how can I say, overqualified. Now, a lot of people in the community will tell you about flange distance, about lens, about this, about that, about calculations, all that kind of stuff. But I just think everybody's becoming a bit overqualified now. I think everyone's just absorbed so much information, but no one's really putting that information to work. Now, when I talk about my films like Notice and Notice 1 and Notice 2, technically you could rip those to shreds, okay? You know, you know, when you're doing a 3-minute production, it's easy to get everything kind of right. But when you're doing like longer movies, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 50 minutes, it's so much harder because you're shooting over multiple days. Now, you know, I have no affection to those movies. Like, if you know, if someone said it was terrible, I wouldn't mind, because I have no affection. The only reason I did those movies is because I wanted to expand my mind as a filmmaker, to learn more. What does it really take? I'm not interested in this distance or that distance or this width or that width. It is important, and you have to kind of know camera lenses and the width and what they will produce, you know, visually. But to be honest, I don't want to bog myself down with all the science. I will rather leave that to other people. If you really want to get ahead and start moving on in this game, you just have to go out there. Now you might say, Colin, it was easy for you, you know, you set all this up or whatever. We didn't have nothing. We had nothing. We had no actors, no money, nothing. So obviously there's about 50 odd people in that movie. There's so many different locations, even Brazil. Big shout out to my friend Wilson. I met him on the Eosm community and he shot that scene out for us in Brazil. And we put all of that together. I think we spent about £400 max on that film, and it was just a load of friends and stuff like that. But you don't have to go that deep. If you want to just do a short 3-minute documentary about, you know, a dog shelter or something like that, then you have to put these things into practice. So I don't want to discourage people and say don't go out there and shoot, you know, in your local parks and stuff like that. But to take this step further and reignite the community, we need people that are going to start putting what they've learned into practice. Yeah, how much more do you seriously need to learn about the Magic Lantern, the settings and all that kind of stuff? No disrespect if that's what you want to do, but how much more do you need to learn before you want to start putting it into practice? The final thing I want to talk about is problem solving. So I did cover that Magic Lantern, you know, does require a bit of know-how and a bit of problem solving. What I've said before in my videos is you need to download Magic Lantern from Dan's repository, install it into your camera, and shoot on 1080p without changing any settings. That's the first thing you should do. I notice a lot of guys, they want to run before they can walk, okay? And it's not good. Yes, 1080p does have aliasing and moire and stuff like that. And again, I've spoken about using diffusion filters or using softer lenses like the 35mm 1.6. I use that a lot because it's clean, but it's kind of soft. So it kind of diffuses those artifacts and stuff like that. And again, you can use a Pro Mist or a KNF filter. There's so much you can do to kind of minimize that. You won't get rid of it completely, but you can minimize it. Even shooting at different, you know, focal lengths, or even rendering the background with a lot of bokeh, depth of field can help you in that area. You just have to pick your battles. But a lot of guys I know, they want to run before they can walk. They're downloading people's settings from the group or other videos. And to be honest, you're just setting yourself up for problems because you don't know what changes that person has made on the settings. And from what I've gathered over the years and my own tests, that I could have 2 Eosms. They could both have Magic Lantern on them. So I'm shooting with one and it works fine. I take that memory card out, put it in another one, it's shooting fine, but then I might notice it has some sort of problem. I've noticed that they're never quite exactly the same. Sometimes they are, sometimes they aren't. But if you've downloaded someone's settings, and even if you ask them to say, oh, what did you change because this and whatever, they could say, oh, change this or change that. But there might be something, just one feature that they might have changed, which is causing you the problem. So always start fresh. I can't emphasize that enough. Always start fresh. And then once you're good in 1080p standard, then you start changing, moving up, and then seeing what you like better, what changes, what works for you, what doesn't work for you. Just be careful on your settings, and you will have a much easier and more fruitful time with Magic Lantern. So guys, that was it. That was my 5 reasons why Magic Lantern is not for you, but I hope I counterbalance that on reasons why it is for you. There's so much you can do with it. To this day, I'm still using it. And as I said, people have movies on Netflix that have shot on Magic Lantern. As long as it hits the demographic which it's supposed to, that's all you should care about. Don't make movies for other filmmakers. Make movies for audience, for people who are gonna not look at the, for the technical aspects and all that kind of stuff. Create a good story, a meaningful story, and just shoot it on whatever. It doesn't matter. But Magic Lantern can get you a much better looking image and a much cleaner image and something that looks a lot more pleasing. So I hope to see you guys push the envelope now that I've shared this information with you. So guys, take care and I'll see you on the next one later.